Yeah, that release clause is £30 million because Ipswich have been relegated. At the moment, what we are hearing this afternoon is that Manchester United are in pole position to sign him. One source has gone as far as telling us that he believes that the deal is very close and the player would be happy to move to Manchester United. Even though United aren't having a great season, he still feels that they're a big club. We've heard something similar as well from Matheus Cunha, the Wolves forward, who may well be moving to United as well. I know, looking from the outside in, people may think United are not doing very well. Why would players want to move there? But you've got to remember, Manchester United are still one of the biggest clubs in the world, and a lot of players want to play for them. Although obviously the top players have other options as well. But look, lots of clubs are interested in signing Liam Delap. Clubs like Chelsea, potentially Nottingham Forest as well, would be interested in him. But I think it's interesting that United at the moment are in pole position, and we believe that he would be happy to move there. Although I think maybe we should wait and see what happens in the Europa final next week, because obviously if
that money coming in, possibly Champions League.
Well, I think United would be able to pay his release clause anyway. Right. It's £30 million, which in the grand scheme of things, for top clubs, even in the PSR era, even if you're not in the Champions League, United would be able to afford that. But I think from a player's perspective, maybe it would be wiser to wait and see over the next few days to see, for instance, Chelsea going to be in the Champions League and Manchester United going to be in the Champions League. But I think regardless of that, I get the feeling that the player would be up for moving to United, even if they were not to make the Champions League. The latest information we have is that they do not have just one target.
Okay.
I know there's been lots of talk about the fact that their new sporting director, Andrea Berta, wants Viktor Gyökeres, prolific Sporting Lisbon striker. He's got an extremely impressive scoring record in the Portuguese league. And there have been lots of reports that Berta wants Gyökeres, and he's told Mikel Arteta, this is the striker we need to sign. Now, my information is that they haven't yet narrowed it down to one name, which means that somebody like RB Leipzig's Benjamin Sesko is still very much on their radar as well. But what I can tell you is that Mikel Arteta will be seriously backed in the transfer market this summer. He will have at least £100 million to spend, plus any funds that are raised from selling players. It's important to stress that Arsenal, I think, are in a very healthy position financially. They've got no PSR issues. They realise, obviously, that finishing second is not good enough for their fans. They want to back Mikel Arteta so they can win a major trophy next season. That is why I'm convinced they'll be signing a striker this summer. They're very confident as well of signing Martin Zubimendi from Real Sociedad. He's a player who Bayern Munich have tried to sign, Liverpool have tried to sign. I am sure that he will become an Arsenal player. They will trigger his release clause, €60 million at the end of the season. So make no mistake, this is going to be a big summer for Arsenal and Mikel Arteta. He said it himself a couple of weeks ago that this will be a big summer for them in the transfer market. So I know there's lots of Arsenal fans out there putting pressure on the club to spend big this summer. I'm not saying that Arsenal are going to go crazy. They're not just going to throw their money around. They will still be careful, but Mikel Arteta will be backed at least £100 million. I wouldn't be surprised if you take into account the players who could be leaving if their final outlay wasn't close to £200 million.
And you can't get much for £100 million these days.
No, but really? You have to bear in mind you're not paying that all at once.
No, I suppose.
You know, I don't want to become an accountant and start talking about, you know, how players are paid for,
yes,
but it's done over the terms of their contract. Yeah. So it's not as if they need to put all the money down on the table.
Yeah.
But I think Arsenal, at least £100 million, maybe even closer to £200 million. So potentially good news for Arsenal fans.
Let's talk about Manchester United. What have you made of this season so far?
It's a disaster. It's not a great season. I think Amorim knows that. I had a meeting with him and he's not happy, but I love his humility. he admit things. Like, you remember what happened with Rashford. He said, guys, I couldn't get the best out of Rashford. Emery do it. So I love his honesty. And, he was like, I said, welcome to our club. He said, no, Patrice, I'm in your club. Like, spend more time with us because, I want to really to succeed. So I love the personality. But, of course, the results are really bad this season. We got, I would say, a last chance to win the Europa League, but it's against Tottenham. They beat us in, I think, 3 times this year. So it won't be an easy game. But even if we won, I know inside Amorim and the player, United, you got the DNA to win trophy. But we won't call it like we had an amazing season. We will say, like, if we won, we saved what it was about to be saved this year. So this is the last chance. Good luck, Like I say, history never die. That's why I'm confident, because we know to win trophy. Some team, they play well all the year, and at the end, they end up trophyless. So I'm confident, but it's going to be tough.
Do you think United can then save their season if they win the Europa League? Because we know there's around 100 million up for grabs, and that place in the Champions League, despite the fact United probably aren't in a position to win it right now, but that could prove absolutely vital when it comes to this summer, potentially attracting players again as well.
Definitely. I think every club now, if you want to attract them, you need to be playing in the Champions League, and especially a club like Man United. So it's definitely the biggest game for Amorim and his player this season. I don't like to say we get that chance, because also don't forget, they work hard also to be in Europa League. I know in the league it's not great, but also it means like they make the effort in the cup. And maybe, when you see the season was over, you have to focus on something can save the season, and it's the Europa League. And I see some people were like, oh, it's possible 2 teams, I will say like 17 or whatever, and Tottenham are going to play and going to be qualified for the Champions League. But nobody was watching the Europa League before. That we had this, I will say, these things where we can qualify for the Champions League. So I don't understand why people are jealous and criticize, because we're watching the Europa League because of that. So good luck for both teams, but come on, United.
It's been a roller coaster watching United in the Europa League this season, not to mention the second leg against Lyon, where it felt like it was all over, but United now have the opportunity to do something special.
It's United, like you say. What a great game. What a great game. And that's why United can have a tough season, and even with Ten Hag, but we still win trophy. And it's no many team can do that, So that's why now this is the biggest chance, the biggest opportunity. Please, guys, make it happen, because this will put in the right direction the club for the next year, because also Amorim is just his first year. So make sure he's win a trophy for this year, but also he get qualified for the Champions League.
Have you seen enough from Ruben Amorim in terms of the small improvements he's made? Clearly he's trying to implement a whole new system at United, that this will be a success. I think all realistic Manchester United fans know that this will be a long process to get the team back to when you were at Manchester United.
No, but exactly. But it's a process. It's a process. And, it's his first year. I see a lot of improvement, discipline. I mean, like, the player don't want to run, or doesn't want to, die for the badge. He won't play for Man United. And he bring like few players, but they need to adapt. We always give, like, even myself and Vidic, when we arrived, we had 6 months to adapt. So next year, it won't be an excuse, but it will be good if we play the Champions League for next year, because he's going to attract more players. Maybe the player he wanted from the beginning of the season, he couldn't get them. So this is a crucial moment, I think, for the history of the club, because we need to start now. And losing the Europa League, not playing the Champions League, will be tough. And maybe we will be focused on the league, trying to win the league again. But, I'm not living in a dream. Let's see what's going to happen. Let's focus just on the final.
Manchester United are closing in on the signing of young striker Liam Delap in what could be a surprise summer move aimed at injecting youthful energy into their attack. The 21-year-old, currently on Manchester City's books but spending recent seasons on loan in the Championship, is reportedly being lined up as a long-term investment by United's recruitment team. Delap, son of former Premier League midfielder Rory Delap, has impressed scouts with his physical presence, movement, and finishing ability during his loan spells, particularly at Hull City. While he may not yet be a household name, United believe he could develop into a reliable forward option, particularly with doubts lingering over the futures of Anthony Martial and Mason Greenwood. Meanwhile, the Red Devils' high-profile pursuit of Viktor Gyökeres has reportedly taken a dramatic U-turn. Sporting CP are demanding a hefty fee of over €100 million for the Swedish international, a valuation that United's hierarchy is now reluctant to meet, especially in light of financial fair play constraints and their intent to strengthen multiple positions this summer. Insiders suggest United are not entirely ruling out Gyökeres, but their focus is shifting toward more financially flexible alternatives, which include young, high-potential players like Delap. With INEOS looking to bring smarter, more sustainable recruitment to Old Trafford, this strategy reflects a pivot from marquee names to hungry talents, a philosophy that could redefine United's transfer approach under the new sporting structure.